Is what we got to do. Is our new life now.
Exactly, the quarantine life.
That social distancing life, man. That's crazy. Well, first off, how have you been? How have you handled during the self quarantine, the social distancing, and all that?
Man, it's pretty crazy because, like, so it's me, my wife, and four kids, and trying to contain children inside of a house. And well, I live in an apartment, but
Mhm.
two-bedroom apartment. It's kind of tough, bro. I'm not even gonna, I'm not gonna front with you. It's definitely kind of tough because kids want to run around, they want to play, they want to go outside, but it's like, you can't because they're actually they're not really vulnerable to the virus, but in the same breath, like you never really know. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Right.
one of those things. Like you don't ever really want to take the chance, you
Hmm.
know? So but for the most part, bro, I haven't really been impacted like work wise as far as the quarantine goes,
Hmm.
because I guess I'm considered like essential in a sense because I'm in construction.
Hmm.
So uh, it hasn't really impacted me that way, but it's more so impacted me as far as not being able to, just go out to the store or go to the movies or, take my kids out to the park.
Right. Kind of like those date nights.
Yeah, it kind of affected me that way. So, you know, it, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because if you look at it one way, it's like everyone's complaining about being at home and not being able to do anything. But then on the same token, the same palette, you look at it this way, like you have more time to spend with your loved ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
Like you start to see things that you never really seen in your kids, or you start to see things that you never really seen in your girlfriend slash wife,
Right.
whatever. So it's like, it's a blessing and a curse either way.
Mhm. I think most importantly too, like for me, I've been able to catch up on readings more. I've been able to listen to more podcasts, catch up on some episodes that I fell behind on TV shows. I've been coloring a lot, painting a lot. So I feel like it's a lot of those like side hobbies I have outside of like work and podcast stuff. I feel like it's been nice because I've been able to hit on those more. So it's been for me. I made best of the time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like this time is like the perfect time for anyone who's, thinking about a second passion, a
Hmm.
passion project. This is like the perfect time to do it because you have nothing but time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Some people didn't have the luxury to where they're still able to work. Some people did get laid off, but that shouldn't be an excuse to stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
It should be more motivation for you to start what you always wanted to start. You just made an excuse that you couldn't start it because you didn't have time.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's time, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the coronavirus is kind of like a blessing and a curse.
Hmm. Yeah, it's smart for people to have side hustles, right? And you have the podcast now. I know you also have a videography background too. Have you always had a side hustle that you've kind of always been working on the side on?
Yeah, so younger when I started out, probably around like 14, 15, I started doing construction, but I didn't really care for it. It was I never really liked to get my hands dirty, quote unquote. Never liked rough hands and things like that. And construction was like always about that. So
Yeah.
I told myself, like, man, I need to figure out how I'm gonna maneuver out of construction. So I had to, make up a game plan and what I wanted to do. I went to college, went to school for physical therapy, graduated, got an AA, but didn't really want to do that. So got out of that, and uh, I just stayed doing construction. But in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to be a creator. I've always wanted to, make videos. I've always wanted to shoot music videos, and just be a
Yeah.
influence person. Be a creator, and that's what got me into buying, my camera that I have now, which is a Sony A7 III.
Hmm.
And I just shoot with it all the time, bro. But I never really post anything because I feel like it's like that self-doubt that creeps in your mind.
Yeah.
It's like, no one's gonna like that, so I better not post it. And to be honest with you, it probably is really good. I just kind of like punked out. So
Hmm.
but yeah, going back to your point as far as have I always had a side hustle? um I think so. As an entrepreneur, my dad is it's his own company, so I work for my dad, but I've kind of been entrepreneurial like my whole life, so
Hmm.
I've always just tried to do entrepreneurial things, whether that be selling candy or you know making videos on YouTube. So
Hmm.
it was just always something that I always wanted to do.
Yeah. You mentioned selling the candy. Was that like one of your earliest experiences doing entrepreneurial things?
Yeah, so that was in high school. We
Okay.
had candy for football.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, I remember those.
so we had to, go door to door and sell candy for fundraising and things like that. And then the winner got like a prize or whatever. I don't really remember what it was, but um, yeah, we that was like one of the first entrepreneurial things that I did in action. But in actuality, my whole life has been entrepreneurship. Seeing my dad, always in construction, doing his own thing and
Hmm.
getting clients and things like that. So I've always seen it. It was always in my face. And don't get me wrong, I did have jobs. Like I worked at AMC, I worked at Big Five.
Yeah. Hey, I worked at Big Five too.
Yeah, I like that store, but my boss, he was kind of a douche. So you know,
I feel
um, but I did have day jobs, quote unquote, 9 to 5s,
it. Mhm.
and I just realized when I was doing them that it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like, and it's gonna sound like kind of messed up, but I didn't feel like I belonged there. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I felt like I needed to do my own thing, and I've always felt like I needed to do my own thing. So that's why I feel like a 9 to 5 really didn't really work for me.
Hmm.
You know?
And I like that you were able to like kind of act out on that too, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of get stuck in that 9 to 5 life and they kind of settle for it, I guess you could say. But I think, there are some people, whether it's you or other people who make music or just I feel like there's outliers, and it's not outlier in a bad thing. It's people who, like you said, want to create, like I said, whether it's, actually with like a paintbrush and doing art, making music, making videos, taking photos. Like there's a lot of people out there who want to create and aren't willing to settle, or, they're not happy as some of the other like older generations, I guess you could say. Um, they're not as happy with settling with the 9 to 5 office type job.
Well, most people that I feel like settle with a 9 to 5 is just they're afraid that they're not going to be as good as they envision themselves. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They put up this a scapegoat that if I jump out and do something that I really want to do, I'm gonna fail at it. And they
Hmm.
already have that in their mind, so they're like, you know what, I'm not even gonna try it. There's some people that are very comfortable where they're at that 9 to 5. So they're like, I got food on the table, I can pay my rent, I can pay my car note, I can buy diapers for my child, I can do all these things with this job. So why would I mess a good thing up to go for something that's uncertain? And one of the things with entrepreneurship and success in general that I find is if you don't take that leap of faith, you're never really going to know. You know what I mean? You're never really going to grow. And then when you're 80 years old or however old you are before you die, you're going to be thinking like, damn, I should have just did that. You know what I mean?
When did you first take that leap of faith, or did you always have it growing up?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't always have it, and low key, I still kind of struggle with it now.
Mhm.
Going back to the point where I don't put out the videos that I shoot.
Right, right.
Um, it's it's just one of those things that you got to take day by day. You know what I mean? It's never something that I mean. Don't get me wrong. Some people have it. When they have it, they just they're daredevils. They'll just jump off a cliff. Or you know what I mean? But I'm just not one of those people, and
Right.
I work on it myself. I have to, pace myself. I have to make micro goals and tell myself that it's going to be okay. I have to kind of reassure myself to get to that level.
Hmm.
But going back to your, I sh- I feel like I feel like that when you don't have something that other people have, meaning like the courageous attitude and all those things,
Hmm.
you have to find out what works for you. What
Right.
works for me,
Yes.
yeah, what works for me is writing it down and sitting down, writing it down, sketching it out, and putting a plan together. Because without
Mhm.
a plan, you're kind of destined to fail. You don't know really where you're going. You're kind of filling in the dark and hoping you find the door.
Right, right.
So my way may not work for everyone, which granted, everybody's path is different, but it might help for some people.
Mhm. And you know what's crazy when you mentioned that, because I was my first goal was to get into ESPN, kind of like the sports reporting and broadcasting side of it. I did that at school. Once I got finished with school, I landed an internship with Fullerton College in the athletics program, and at their radio station, kind of covering games. But I remember at least being on camera for me, like I always felt I had to be very like Stephen A. Smithish, I guess you could say, charismatic, flamboyant. Like that wasn't me as a person. I was always like a relatively shy kid, more laid back. I would talk, but like I wasn't always out there like doing talent shows or just, I wasn't the leader, I guess you could say, when it came to talking and conversations.
Right.
But so I remember like my mentors were really great in that program just because they were like, hey, like you're trying to do too much of this and you're not that. So you need to put your own twist on it and be yourself, but also still be knowledgeable. And so then once he told me that, it kind of just clicked for me, and I stopped overthinking, stopped trying to be the Stephen A's, the very like flamboyant personalities. And I think it's really like worked with me. People say like, oh, you look so much more natural now. You look so much more calm, relaxed. You're very laid back, but you're still like when you're laid back, but you have the correct information. So I was just like, that's you have to find your niche. You have to find, like you said, the way you do it best.
Yeah, dude, that's definitely a great point because I feel like, my whole throughout all of high school, I was a people pleaser. I was
Yeah.
a person who needed to be, not, it sounds weird, but I needed to be praised by other people. Other people's what other people thought about me actually really
Hmm.
affected how I actually felt,
Hmm.
and that went into depression and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I feel like if you're trying to put on this character that you think other people are going to like you for and that it ends up failing, you're going to lose yourself, who you truly are, along that way, because you made this whole secondary person that you don't really know or how to act, really. And you're just putting on this fake profile for other people, but in reality that's not really who you are.
Hmm.
And that was like a great point what you said, that you tried to be flamboyant and out there and things like that, but that really wasn't you, and people could see it you
Yeah.
know so it's always best to be yourself. It's always best to, you know, if people don't like who you are, then that's something that's wrong with them.
Yeah.
That's not
Exactly.
something
Exactly.
that's not something that's wrong with you. If you're one of those people that are shy, like I'm a shy person. I don't like to be, out there,
Hmm.
loud colors and shoes. I've just never been that guy.
Yeah.
Once I know you and I get to know you and I'm comfortable with you, then I'm a little animated. Most people will say I'm animated, but when I don't know you and I'm getting to know you, I'm a little bit more conservative, a little bit more reserved. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that's okay too. Like we don't need a world full of like people who are all the same like level of confidence or same level of personalities. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be very black. It would be very black and white if everyone was kind of the same.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. At what age did you kind of, like you said earlier, stop being a people pleaser and just really discover yourself and what you're capable of?
Sheesh. That's crazy, bro. Crazy you asked that. So after high school, I noticed that I was a people pleaser, and I really didn't like that about myself, and it kind of spiraled me into a depression, kind of, because I was like, well, do I really like this stuff, or do I like it because other people wanted me to like it? The music I listened to, or the shows that I watch. It was like I was second guessing myself all the time, and it wasn't until like recently, a couple years ago, that I just realized that like, screw it. If people don't like who you are, if people don't like that you're quiet, if people don't like your style of talking or whatever, because now this is going to kind of go on a little tangent, but growing up, I'm an African American, and
Yeah.
but I grew up in Orange County, so I didn't grow up around a lot of black people. So
Mhm.
everybody was always, I was either too white for black people or too black for white people. So I
Mhm.
was kind of like stuck in the middle, but I'm not light skinned, I'm I'm dark skinned. So
Yeah.
it kind of hurt me in that way as well. You know, I tried to be black for the black people, even though I was black. So it was kind of weird. But everybody would always tell me like, "Oh, you talk white." So I was like, "Okay."
Hmm.
I didn't really understand what that meant. So after after high school, a couple years after high school, I just realized that what, like if I talk white, I talk white. If I talk, proper, I talk proper. Like if you don't like it, then I'm not the person for you.
Yeah. And I can say I've had a similar experience just because, being like of Mexican American descent, a lot of Mexican Americans are usually darker skinned than me too. And so they'll say, like, I remember just going to school in Sacramento and meeting a lot of different people from a lot of different places in California. But, they had their own Mexican customs, and like you weren't Mexican if you did this, that, or the other. And, I didn't necessarily, ride the horses or like work the farms like they did. So they're kind of, made you like seem like you were, they wouldn't maybe be serious, but they'd always tease you like, like you're not really Mexican. But then obviously, like, I'm not white either. Like, I had white friends, but like I didn't really relate to them on the same level as, some of my other friends that come from that Mexican American background. So it definitely, I felt like sometimes where you weren't white enough for obviously like the white people, but then you weren't Mexican enough because, of certain things or how you grew up. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah. And that's more so the reason why I started my podcast was
Mhm.
because I know that there's a lot of people out there like me, you know what I mean, that want to get their voice heard but just don't know how to voice it. You know what I mean? I decided to start it so I can help other entrepreneurs just find their voice. You know what I mean? Find out, what they want to do, what their passion is, and just help them execute it. That was my whole goal. I hope to help as many entrepreneurs as I can through my podcast. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to promote anything. I'm just talking one on one like we're talking now. It's my whole thing is I get a high off of helping others. That
Nice.
that's always been something that I've done even throughout all of my life. Mostly,
Hmm.
people have always come to me and asked me for advice, whether it be you know, I don't know, some stupid like something what should we eat today?
Yeah.
Or um, I was always that guy, because I was the only son, so I had to grow up really fast, and I didn't really have a chance to really make mistakes. I had to like pay bills at a young age, not because I had to do it was just because my dad was gone in construction and doing work and stuff like that. So I had to be the man of the house. So yeah, I kind of grew up a little faster than most.
Hmm.
All throughout high school, everybody would always call me the dad because like like
Yo, same here.
like we shouldn't be over here. They're
Yeah.
like, just chill. Like we're like we're 17, we're 18 years old. Like,
Yeah.
oh, but it's like I can't, you know what I mean? I can't just sit back and just let you guys like ruin your life. But
Hmm. I mean, for me, I could say that comes from like strict parents because like I was always the friend, like you said, who would always watch out for cops or just like I was very paranoid of getting in trouble whenever we were doing bad things, just because I know if I got in trouble and I came home, like my parents are gonna whoop my ass. You know what I mean? So that was my fear amongst my friends. I don't think everyone got their ass whooped like I did. So it was a different kind of fear if you got in trouble or something.
right, definitely, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So you started the podcast. How did you come up with the name the Social Digest?
Okay, so the social digest, it was kind of like a play on words. Socially, everybody has these misconceptions about how we're supposed to act socially, and everyone has their own way of thinking how we're supposed to act. You're not supposed to burp in public. You're not supposed to fart in public. You're
Yeah.
not with stuff like that. You're not supposed to like tell a girl she's pretty or whatever. Everybody just has these myths that they write into law like it's just that's the thing to do. But
Mhm.
it's all relative. What's somebody else's truth is not somebody else's. And then the digest part was just how much stuff we digest throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that's why I came up with the social digest, because socially we just digest so much crap, and we just gotta decipher which one is actually roses.
That's true. I like that. I like that saying. What were some of the podcasts that you were listening to before you started your own?
So I was. like I said before, I dealt with depression a lot, so I was always trying to listen to motivational people. Now Joe Rogan's podcast wasn't really motivational,
Yeah.
but what I've learned from Joe Rogan is it's just the way he speaks. You know what I mean? How everything is just so normal. You know what I mean? I don't. It's kind of hard to explain, but
He's
it
enlightened.
just yeah, it just sounds like it's just easy for him to just say like, "Oh, hey, da 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 da," da," like, and you're just like, "Wow," even if you're not even into what he's talking about, you just listen to it. You know what I mean? You can lose a whole 2 hours just listening to Joe, and you can't even recall what he's talking about, but you just never turn it off. So
Mhm.
there's another guy that I listen to. His name is Eric, the hip hop. I think it's the hip hop entrepreneur.
Mm.
And he's just he's the number one motivational speaker in the world.
Dang.
Uh, he's above Tony Robbins and all of them. So I just listen to them just for extra motivation in the morning. Everybody struggles with what they struggle with, and everybody's not perfect. So it's no point to act like we are. On social media, it's one of those things where you look at social media and you only get the perfect part of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to portray that you're rich, you can be rich. If you want to portray that, you travel a lot, then you can do that too. So,
Yep.
social media, I feel like in this generation is just so different than when it was when we were younger. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like if somebody was bullying us on Facebook, we just block them.
Yeah. Fucking log off, you know?
But now it's like kids have like 20,000 followers and they're like, I can't just log off. Like, this is my life. And it's like, okay, I mean, what do you want me to say to that?
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like social media is one of those things that is a necessity, but we need to learn how to use it properly and not let it overtake our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good segue. It's just what I wanted to ask is because do you think social media can be abused and lead to like a lot of mental health stuff, depression? I've talked about on this previous shows, but what's kind of your opinion on social media and the rise of mental health?
Yeah, man, I really believe that social media has a big part in mental health because like even in myself, like when I used to post I had a food channel before and I would go to restaurants and do reviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would post the content on my page and I would get like 10 likes. And I'm like, man, what am I doing? Like, why this guy's picture is worse than mine, but yet he has like 1,000 likes
Yeah.
and 50 comments. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So now I'm like on YouTube trying to figure out, SEO stuff and trying to figure out,
Mhm.
what hashtags to use. And it gets pretty crazy, bro, because you feel like, okay, if it doesn't get a certain amount of likes, all right, I'm taking it down. Like, I'm not gonna let somebody just see I got 10 likes and then they're like laughing at me. But in reality, like no one's really laughing at you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just all in our brains. Like, I don't know if you notice, but you can tell yourself, like, if you're feeling sick one day, you'll tell yourself, like, yeah, I'm feeling sick. Like, I hope I'm not getting sick, but I feel sick. And then the next thing you know, like, you're sick.
Yeah,
Like, your mind is so powerful that you can will whatever you want into existence.
that's true.
People don't really understand about it. They just think that, if they want it bad enough, that it's just going to pop out of thin air.
Hmm.
Doesn't work that way, you know what I mean? You have to cultivate it. You have to speak it to existence, and you have to actually believe it. You can't
Hmm.
just say it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You got
No, yeah, and like believing it is a huge part of it. I think you also too got to kind of ignore the noise around you. I think we both played sports, and in sports, especially at football, there's only two or three linebackers that start. There's only one quarterback that starts. There's only one running back that starts. Sometimes you get guys who rotate in, but in sports, a lot of sports, there's a starters and there's a backups, and so only one person or a few people can win at that position. Where in life, I've learned that it's not necessarily like that too, and going back to what you're saying, just like comparing yourself to other food pages. I remember like my friend who's a producer and he makes the beats and instrumentals for the show. I remember when I heard first like Broccoli by Little Yachty, and we're like, yo, this beat is like dumb. Like it almost seems like a song that was kind of made as a joke, and they'll say it was, but it got popular. Or you'll see like a random Vine or YouTube video that's not like not really good quality. They're not even doing anything funny, but like just got like really popular, got a whole bunch of views and likes, and you're just like, yo, like I could have done something way better than that, and you don't get the same amount of likes or validation, and so you have to learn to ignore that too, and just be proud of your own work.
Yeah, you definitely have to drown out the noise because if you
Mhm.
don't, it's gonna kill you,
Yeah.
literally. You know, whether you take your own life or somebody takes it for you. You know, that's definitely why social media is one of those things that it's really good in some ways and then it's really bad in others. But, you know, going back to your point of you know, finding your own way, I feel like the number one thing that helps, you know, people in general, not just entrepreneurs, but people in general, with wanting to grow whatever it is they're trying to grow, whether that be a YouTube channel, you know, a Instagram page, whatever, is consistency. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? You have to be consistent at what you want to do, and you have to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about it, if you don't want to wake up every day and do that, then that's not something you want to be in. You know what I
Right.
mean? Waste your time, waste your energy, you know, waste your resources, your money. You know, time is the ultimate thing that everybody always wants back. And
Hmm.
that's one thing you never get back. You never get time back. You can't, you know, rewrite history in a sense. You know, you can only do what you can do in that day. You
Yeah.
have 24 hours to do something. Yeah, okay. So say you sleep 8 hours of the day, you still have 16 hours left. Out
Right.
of that 16 hours, if you bust your cheeks for 8 hours, you still have an additional 8 hours to do whatever you want to do. You
Right.
know, so you know, as long as you stay consistent and just work your tail off, dude. There's nothing you can't do. If you see somebody that it's playing a stock market or something, and you want to make $500,000 a year, that's your goal.
Hmm.
You can do it. Your path is not going to be the same as the next guy, but hey, if you got consistency and hard work, there's nothing that can stop you.
Hmm.
Look at like to bring it into sports. Look at what was his name? He was from LSU. He was like the shortest strong safety.
Oh, Tyron
Uh,
Matthew. Oh man, that's my guy.
he was the shortest strong safety like ever, and everybody counted him out like, "Oh, you're never gonna make it. You're too short. You do that, bro." Hard work, determination.
Hmm.
He made them see that he was the best thing coming out of LSU. So
Yeah.
it's no matter if you're small, no matter if you're big, no matter if you're yellow, green, black, whatever. If you want to do it, put your mind to it, will it into existence, and be consistent. I guarantee you, those three things, there's nothing you can't do.
Mhm. I think one thing a lot of I want to add too is that one thing a lot of people overlook when trying to pursue a side hustle or something they're really passionate about is you're gonna have to make a lot of sacrifices to that normal lifestyle you were very comfortable with. You have to break out your comfort zone because that's the only way you're gonna grow and kind of, I remember especially after playing football, I really I didn't have an identity, and I went to play JUCO 1 year at Golden West, and after I had stopped playing, I had friends that were kind of like, going out all the time. And I remember that wasn't really my thing, but I got comfortable like with going out every weekend. And, like it eventually became like very normal to me. But when I wanted to pursue the sports thing more and more, especially like through the Fullerton College internship with the sports program, I just had to sacrifice so much more hanging out time. And every now and then I will catch up with old friends when I do have the time, but I'm willing to make sacrifices because it's something I do love, whether it's the podcasting, whether it's the sports reporting, whether it's being behind the camera or in front of the camera and recording. So just you have to be willing to make sacrifices and maybe miss out on a family event or maybe missing out on hanging out with friends if you're really passionate about something.
Yeah, definitely. You have to. Yeah, you definitely got to make sacrifices. You know what I mean? You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You have to. You definitely have to make sacrifices. Sometimes, when your friends want to hang out, and that's another thing about friends. If you're passionate about, say, like you're passionate about broadcasting and sports broadcasting and things like that. If the friends you hang out with aren't really passionate about that or don't really care about that, it's gonna mess with your morale eventually. May
Hmm.
not happen right away, may not happen months from now, might not happen years from now, but eventually it's gonna hit you like, I gotta go do, an interview, and I gotta prepare for it. I gotta write a script, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And their mind is not there. So they're like, man, let's just chill, bro. Let's go let's go to DTF. Let's go, downtown LA. Like, it's Friday night. Like, what are you studying for a test for? Getting ready for an interview. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to say. Like, sometimes you just have to, move away from that situation. If you're around like-minded people, you're gonna be you're gonna feel happier.
Hmm.
You're gonna feel more empowered because it's like we're all doing the same thing. If you're a cameraman, you hang out with other cameramen. And that's not saying that you just ditch your day ones. That's not what I mean. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people. Otherwise, you're not really gonna go anywhere.
Hmm.
And that's kind of messed up to say, but it's the truth.
Hmm.
The truth is always messier than what people really want to hear. They don't really want to hear the truth. They just want to sugarcoat it and think that the sky falls out, skittles. It's not it's not that simple. And if you're following a passion and you want it to grow and you truly honestly want to do this for the rest of your life,
Hmm.
sacrifices you have to make. you know
Yeah.
Family, friend time, movie time, those are the things you have to sacrifice on, but not so much to whereas you lose yourself and all
Right.
you your passion, and then eventually, if that's all you do, you're just going to burn yourself out, and then you're not going to be passionate about it anymore.
Hmm.
Definitely have to take time out to hang out with friends and take time out to do think reward yourself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All the hard work you put in,
Hmm.
reward. You know what I mean? Our brains are meant to follow patterns. If you are not a morning person, but for 30 days you've been waking up at 5 in the morning, I guarantee from then into whenever, you're always going to wake up at 5 in the morning,
Yep.
because it's a pattern that your mind can get used to. So, if it's your passion, make a micro goal and just do that every day.
Hmm.
Do it every day. You wake up, you do it every day. And eventually, in 30 days, it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
So all it takes is 30 days. If you could do it for 30 days, consistently for 30 days, you can do it for a lifetime. So if
Yeah.
you try for just 1 month, just a month, you'll be surprised on where it could take you in life.
Hmm.
Because if you just stay in your same area, same job, same everything, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to be who you actually are meant to be.
Right.
Everybody in life is great.
Hmm.
Have to find out how great we are, you know. But it takes people like you and I to bring it out in them, because most people don't are afraid. Most people, like myself, most people are afraid of failure. Most people are afraid of what other people are going to think. But it's like, if this is really what you want to do, you gotta nut up or shut up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't sit on the sideline and complain that you weren't in and the coach didn't put you in and all this stuff. But it's like, you didn't come to practice. You didn't, when we're watching film, you weren't
Paying
being
attention.
a, you were laughing in the back with Oscar. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, you can't have it both ways. You either want it or you don't. There's no in betweens. You can't stand on that like thin line and be like, I'm gonna play both sides of the field. It
Yeah.
doesn't really work.
Hmm. And what you said too about micro goals is very important, because once I started doing that, and just to bring up an example from my personal life, right after I graduated college, I wasn't reading as much, and I did want to start reading more and more, but I would want to like read. I started making too big of goals. I said I wanted to read a chapter a day, or not a chapter a day, a chapter a week. And that was a little bit too big of a goal for me. I started just doing a page a day, and that page a day has slowly turned in to now I read till I'm comfortable. Maybe it's 4 or 5 pages if I have a little bit more time, especially with, social distancing and not as much work right now. I've been reading almost whole chapters a day, but I've graduated. I've been out of school for almost 3 years now, almost 3 years. So it's been something that I've slowly worked upon. And, last year I read 3 books. My goal is to read 4 this year. So just making small micro goals, because if you shoot for the moon, and if I would have went straight for 10 books a year, you're going to be most likely disappointed. And that's going to discourage you from continuing to try, you know?
Definitely gonna burn yourself out. That's the point of creating a micro goal for
Hmm.
people that don't know what micro goals are. they're goals that are so small, you'll feel like crazy if you don't accomplish it. You know,
Right, right.
like to feed off your point about reading books, like if you feel like, because knowledge is power, if you want to learn something, you're either going to watch it on the internet, or you're going to read about it. Those are the two things that you can do. So if your thing is to read about it, then maybe tell yourself you're going to read 4 lines a day.
Yeah.
You kill it at 4 lines. Don't read five, don't read six, don't read seven, don't read eight. You do it at four, that's it. Now you feel that you've accomplished something. You feel happy, like, oh man, I did my 4 lines today. I'm good. So as long as you continuously, like I said before, consistency and hard work, if you consistently do it for 30 days, then it's going to become a habit. And then it's just going to be like normal. It's going to be your new normal. And
Hmm.
then you set another micro goal. But you don't create a goal that's, like you said before, so far ahead. You shoot to the moon.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just like people who in the New Year's who always have these new goals at the
Oh
end of the
yeah, yeah.
and they go out and get a gym pass, which is fine. But then they try and do every exercise in the world and end up getting hurt. And then they're like, ah, man, screw this gym pass.
Hmm.
But they're still ending up paying it for 2 years. You know what I mean? So just do micro goals. Don't go to the gym every single day because everybody else is.
Hmm.
Monday, Wednesday, and maybe Sunday, or Monday and Friday, or just one day a week. Like, hey, I'm going to run 5 miles one day a week.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't try to exceed your goal. Just do your goal, and that's it.
Mhm. And instead of setting that goal, hey, I want to lose 40 to 50 pounds, maybe just, hey, let's start with losing 2 to 3. And again, like once you accomplish it, that builds the confidence where you say, okay, I just, lost 2. Now let's go for 3. Now let's go for 5. Now let's go for 10. And before you know it, you'll have lost 50 pounds in a span of, maybe it took a little longer than you thought, but still you're able to do so by setting micro goals and slowly advancing.
Yeah, exactly.